The all-new Toyota Crown is here in heavy metal at Wesley Chapel Toyota, but it's not a new nameplate. This was actually introduced back in 1955. This was the first Toyota to be exported to the United States back in 1958, which was replaced with the Lexus ES to take over the flagship luxury line for the Toyota. Then the Corrida or Corona Mark II took over, replaced by the Avalon, and now the Crown is back, replacing the Avalon. Because it's the limited trim, we get the quad headlamp assembly, standard 5.8 inches of clearance, standard hybrid trim, which you're going to be getting 41 mpgs for the city and 42 mpgs for the highway, because this is the 2.5 liter four-cylinder with 236 horsepower, up to 340 horsepower with the max engine with the 2.4 turbo, and the front fascia will mimic the Prius on the top part. The lower bit doesn't have any air intake unless you go into the lower underneath this honeycomb design. It does look futuristic, but I kind of wish it had a little bit more functionality for the vehicle, because it just makes it look like it's a full electric vehicle. The fenders will push out. The way this vehicle is set up on the new Toyota New Global Architecture K platform, or TNG-K, it's going to look different in the sense of the way it sits. So in the interior, it's going to feel like an SUV. On the exterior, it's going to look like a hatchback. Standard for the XLE and the Limited is these 19-inch multi-spoke machine finished two-tone alloy wheels. Optional 21-inch 10-spoke dark metallic alloy wheels. For the Platinum trim, adaptive variable suspension. All the other trims, a McPherson strut front suspension, a multi-link rear suspension. The disc reading behind it at 12.9 inches. That's going to be ventilated. The rear is a solid at 12.5 inches. Obviously, you're going to receive regenerative braking. The side profile goes to that European fastback or sportback design, mimicking a hatchback. I like how the chrome starts on the back door panel and races all around, but they don't do it on the back. So it gives a unique flair to the Crown. And on the lower skirt, the matte black that's going to go around the fenders and all of your bumpers. 196.1 inches long, which is about 0.3 inches longer than the Lexus ES, which is going to be a bit of a competition against this vehicle, even though the exterior is not going to look very similar. But when you see the interior, how they've designed it and gave it a feel of an SUV, because they've raised the seats up maybe 2 to 3 inches, it does put this vehicle in a different class, because it's similar to a sedan and an SUV. LED tail lamps, that's going to be standard. It wraps around all the way into the Toyota badging. Crown script underneath the grille pattern, reverse parking sensors, and a reverse camera. The exhaust is going to be tucked underneath, and it should be, because this is a hybrid. I'm not expecting to see dual exhaust outlets out of the Crown. Now on the Avalon, I would if it was the TRD. One thing I dislike is where the button is to open the tailgate, because it's on that pattern. It's not up here, and you have to use the lights to actually open it up, in which quick release to go into 15 cubic feet of storage, which is over 1.1 inches more than the Lexus LS. Underneath, you get a spare tire. Right on this side is your battery. Split fold the rear bench in the back at a 40-60 split, increasing the cargo to the new Crown. Let's go inside, move it a little bit so you can hear the sound of the engine. Going inside the new Crown Limited, headroom starts at 38.2 inches, leg space at 42.1 inches, which is about 0.3 inches less than the Lexus. The Limited trim starts off with leather bucket front seats, 10-way power seat adjustment, heated and ventilated. When you get into the XLE, that will have heated and 8-way power seat adjustment for the front and soft tech materials. The door panels in the dash integrate in together, and they continue with the C structures with the line that wraps around your two screen panel that is connected together. JBL sound system comes into the limited, otherwise it's a 6-speaker setup for your standard XLE. 12.3 touchscreen with navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming, Bluetooth audio. Put it into reverse, we have a reverse camera with trajectory. It does not cover the whole screen, working into your standard dual climate control settings. A little bit of an area here for a storage pocket, very driver focused with the way it's shaped and very Lexus oriented with 2 USB-C ports, a wireless charging pad, that's standard, and in front you can put another phone, an area for your key fob, and this is the new Crown key fob. The cup holders will be underneath, the same gear lever as the Prius, the way it's structured, but the same knob as the Lexus. Soft for your elbows here, and it is a dual opening, so you can open it either way with a storage container, with a USB-C port, and a 12-volt. Putting this back is always fun, as you're noticing. Leather wrap steering wheel, 3-spoke heated, because this is the limited multi-function with adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, the stocks, and the push button start. The gauge cluster is a digital reader. You can go through an array of information for the driver, and this is also a standard cluster. Driver mode select, eco, normal, and sport. Going into the door panel is going to be more everyday materials, except for where you rest your arms. One touch up and down for the windows, and on the lower it's going to be the same with a cup or beverage holder in the bottom. For the back seats, headroom is at 37.5 inches, and it's carved out right before the pano moonroof, so you want to really sit back. Leg space is going to be less than the LS at 38.9 inches, whereas that one's 39.2 inches. So you're going to lose a little bit of space, but it still has enough for somebody 6'3". 2 USB-C ports, air vent, storage behind both of the front seats. And what I like is, if you're noticing, they carve out a good amount of space for taller people like me. The door panel starts off with that 11-speaker JBL sound system, harder materials pretty much all over except for where you need them not to be. Heated rear seats because it's a limited trim, 1 cup or beverage holder in the door panel. Because of that carved out design and the way I am, it's very difficult to not hit your head on the pano or this headliner. You really have to sit upwards like this. Leg space is not going to be an issue. Feet space isn't either, because the rails are pushed upwards and they also sit on a pedestal to give you that SUV feel. You will be sharing a little bit of butt and shoulder space, but it's a wide vehicle, so 3 adults, my dimensions, can fit. Just a little uncomfortable because of this. 236 horsepower out of this 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder hybrid engine, paired to a CVT transmission that's going to be getting a 0 to 60 under 8 seconds. The second engine option will be a 6-speed automatic transmission with 340 horsepower, 2.4 liter turbo i4 hybrid engine, 400 pound-feet of torque. It's going to be significantly faster, which when we get our hands on it, we will do a review so you can see the difference. But what you're getting with this is excellent MPGs. The sit does feel a little higher up. It does feel like a compact SUV instead of a sedan. Let's see the power. Now obviously it's going to get noisy because of the type of engine that we are in, but once you get up to speed, it is pretty quiet. The steering wheel is very light, and the drive is butter smooth. I will say, if you're considering a Lexus, this could be a great alternative to it. The savings isn't huge though. Talking maybe a couple of grand depending on the tiers that you go into, but the standard amenities that you get is almost at Lexus level. And when you get into the limited trim, I mean, you got the quad LED headlamp setup. That's something that Lexus has been talking about for a few years, and which you usually pay more money for. Here you're getting it when you get into the limited trim. Now that's going to take me to some things I like and dislike, and we're going to start off with what I like about the new Crown is in the interior for the driver's seat. It just has a different projection than other vehicles. Toyota really nailed it on the head when they said it feels like a sedan, and it also feels like an SUV. So if you don't necessarily want to get into SUV because you're not going to be getting the MPGs that you would get in this is awesome to consider. The second thing that I like about the vehicle is the cargo capacity. Because it's near a hatch design, it gives you a substantial amount more cargo than the Lexus variant that would be comparable. However, because it's not a hatch, you do still lose cargo, and yet we're losing headroom because of that slope roof design. The last thing that I like is this center cluster in the dash more or less is derived strictly out of the Lexus. And I get it, it's not a huge discount. But if you get the base variant, you actually will start seeing some savings, and you're getting Lexus components. On the disadvantage, it's a lot more harder materials throughout the cabin, even though this is at a luxury price tag, and this is the new flagship that replaced the Avalon, in which the Avalon had two different feels. If you get the TRD, it's very hip and athletic, and if you get the standard, meaning like a limited, it's going to be more of the luxury side. Here, you're getting a blend of just an SUV and a sedan. There's really not a performance look to the exterior. Yes, when you get into the Platinum, you can get a two-tone look. However, it's not gonna scream 400 pound-feet of torque. The second thing that I dislike is the panel moonroof. Because the way the seats are designed, it's actually behind my head, as you're noticing. Turn radius is gonna be not really a stop point, but we're gonna try to get as close as we can. It's about 2 lanes, not bad, it's under 200 inches. Let's rock and roll. Now, if you get the more powerful variant, you're gonna shave nearly 2 seconds 0 to 60, which is pretty crazy considering that is over 4,300 pounds. This is around 38 to 3,900 pounds. So you're moving a lot more, but because the turbo, and of course you have the electric motors and 400 pound-feet of torque, which is more than 2 times the amount of this, it's going to move it very fast. Brakes is not bad for the vehicle because it's also not that heavy in the limited or XLE trim. The last thing that I dislike is the trunk release button. It's stationed this way instead of this way, and you have to open it by the actual LED rear tail light assembly. Kind of wish that wasn't the case. Now, because of the way the windscreen or windshield is designed, the A-pillars are right in front of you. It's long, but it's not really oval. The side windows are, so it is visible in the front, nearly 6 inches of clearance, which is standard. Also all-wheel drive standard. These are things that really make the Crown pop. As for visibility in the back, you will have some blind spots, but you got standard blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control we have, very similar to a Lexus, so you're gonna get that butter smooth drive. The sound dampening is not going to be as forgiving as the Lexus variant. But I mean, if you're looking for that combination of an SUV and sedan, I don't think you're gonna go wrong. And here we go. Now, obviously, you're not gonna do that every day. So normal driving, I will say you're going to be hitting probably a 2 or 3 RPM. When you're in sport mode, you're obviously going to give it a little bit more of a go. Putting it into B, not a huge difference in the driving. So I would say you could leave it and you're going to be fine with that. The exterior styling is a little bit wild, but I do like that you can get the two-tone when you get into the Platinum tier. And just like every other vehicle, now you have to go up the trim levels in order to get the features, which is something I don't necessarily like because you can't necessarily option every single feature in lower trims. I'd like to thank Wesley Chapel Toyota for giving us this 2023 Toyota Crown Limited for our car review. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Hawkeye community. If not, I don't know what you're waiting for. Click the next video on the subscribe button, check out the merchandise, website, Instagram, leave a comment and a like.